So in this lesson, we are going to talk about goal setting, and the desired outcome of this lesson is you will learn how to apply SMART goals to your personal life. So think for a second, what do you dream about achieving? What would you like to achieve? Have you ever thought about what the difference between a dream and a goal is? Well, Harvey Mackey said, a dream is just a dream. A goal is a dream with a plan and a deadline. In order for something to be a goal, there needs to be a few things. First, it has to be important to you personally. It has to be within your power. You have to have the ability to make it happen. You have to have a reasonable chance of achieving it. And it has to be clear, and you have to have a specific plan of action. In other words, the idea of me flying to the moon would be a dream. This is simply not a goal. It's not within my power. There's really not a reasonable chance of me having that happen. I don't have a plan for something like that to happen. So that would be a dream. It would be a goal though, let's say, if I wanted to lose 10 pounds. If that was important to me, if it was within my power, there is certainly a reasonable chance of me doing that. I could make a clear plan and it could be very specific to me. So that would be the difference between a goal and a dream. Now, there's certainly different types of goals. There could be short-term, medium-term, long-term, but we're going to just talk about the difference between short-term and long-term. Short-term are goals that you're focusing on now, between now and the next 6 weeks. Long-term are goals that are happening down the road. So these are things that are going to be happening within the next 6 months to a year or even further down the road. So let me give you a couple examples of short-term goals. To do your math assignments every day, to go to live class every day, to answer at least 2 questions while you're in class every day. These would be examples of short-term goals that you might have to do better in school. Example of long-term goals could be to explore careers that you're interested in, to graduate from high school with good grades, or to go to college or get a job. These would all be examples of long-term goals. The concept of SMART goals was first introduced in the 1980s, and then it became really popular in the 1990s, and it's still used now. And what that should tell you is this particular method of setting goals has been around for a long time, and it's been tested and found to work. You see, your brain is wired for routine. In other words, your brain craves routine, and routine helps you conserve energy. It's exhausting to not have a routine. Have you ever discovered that if you don't have a routine, you actually get more tired? This is what happens if you don't have a routine. If you don't have a routine, your hours blend in together and your day becomes non-productive. So let's break down the SMART goals letter by letter. The first is S, and that is talking about specific. If you're going to have a SMART goal, it needs to be specific. You need to make sure your goal is focused, and you need to have a tangible outcome. In other words, an outcome that you can see. Tangible means something that you can see or touch, or that it is actually something that you can measure. So it needs to be specific. If your goal is too vague, then you're not going to be able to determine whether or not you achieve it. Like I just mentioned, you need to make sure your goal is measurable. How much? How many? You need to know how you measure your goal. If you can't measure it, you're not going to be able to manage it. So how much do you have to do? How many times do you have to do it? How will you be able to see if the change occurred? So with your goal, specifically what is the goal. If your goal is to get to an A, well, what percentage? If your goal is to do your assignments, how many assignments? The A has to do with attainable, and this has to do with setting yourself up for success. The goals should make you slightly uncomfortable. In other words, it should be something that pushes you slightly above your comfort zone. Otherwise, you're already doing it. If you're perfectly comfortable with what you're already doing, then, well, why is that a goal? So it should be something that is pushing you just a little bit, but not so much that you can't achieve it. Facing and overcoming challenges will motivate you to move on to bigger challenges and more satisfying accomplishments. The R has to do with being real or relevant. In other words, your goal has to be realistic. A poor example would be if you enjoyed playing video games, I will not play video games because that might not be realistic. If you want to eat healthy foods, a poor example would be I will not eat more than 1,500 calories a day ever. A realistic example might be, well, I will not play video games until all my assignments are done each day. If you wanted to eat healthy, you might say, well, every day I will write down what I'm eating. That is realistic, and that way you can keep an eye on what you're eating versus setting something that is too stringent or too strict that you're not going to be able to follow. The T is time. So set up some sort of timeline. There has to be a deadline. So when do you want to have your goal accomplished by? Set up little mini checkpoints to make sure that you are staying on track. And some extra ideas to help you. First, write your goals on paper. Write down specifically what you're going to do. Write down your SMART goals. Make little post-its and put them places where you will see them. Tell your goals to others. They may be able to help or keep you on task. Have a positive attitude. It is always more helpful if you write your goals in a positive way. Celebrate your successes. If you don't reach a goal, don't think of it as a failure. Take a look at why you didn't reach it and maybe set the goal in a slightly different way, or maybe make a baby step so that you have a better chance of reaching that goal next time. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Identify areas that need improvement and use your imagination. You are always more likely to achieve a goal if you picture yourself achieving that goal. So your assignment now is to come up with a SMART goal. You're going to come up with a short-term SMART goal. You are going to write down the letters SMART, and you are going to put down what each of them mean, and you are going to come up with a SMART goal that has to do with something that you would like to work on. It can be school related. It can be something in your personal life. And you will submit that, and that is how you will get credit for this assignment. Thank you for listening, and please let me know if you have any questions.